Hi, welcome to Eating Well for a Healthy Heart, Type 2 Diabetes. My name's Claire. I'm a nutrition student at the Donna Lana School of Public Health at U of T, and I'm partnering today with Credit Valley Family Health Team to show you some great recipes to help you eat healthy. The first recipe that I'm going to demonstrate is a crispy chickpeas recipe. It's a great snack that's high in fiber, low in salt, will keep you nice and full until your next meal. So they're nicely spiced and they're very inexpensive to make. Just took some canned no salt chickpeas. So it's about a 500 milliliter can of chickpeas, and I just poured that into a colander in the sink and we rinsed it. Just to let you know, I've already washed my hands. And then we're gonna, because they're all wet and we need some spices to stick to them, I'm now gonna just pour these chickpeas onto this paper towel here and give them a little rub with the paper towel. So that's gonna not only dry them, but it's gonna take off some of those extra skins. We're just gonna sort of rub them back and forth. You may lose a few onto your counter, you just put them back because your counter has been cleaned, like this one has. So I'm just gonna dry it a little bit. Okay, I'm losing them all over the place. Okay, we're gonna put them back in. Then I'm gonna put them into this bowl here. Okay, and I'm going to pour it in and take out any extra skins, because those may burn in the oven. So as you can see, a few of the skins have popped off. All right, so that's just a few minutes. Now chickpeas, as I said, are a great source of fiber, and we don't always think of them as a snack. A lot of the time people put them in stews, or they puree them and make them into hummus, which are delicious, but they can also, as a snack, they're also fantastic. They've got kind of a nutty flavor when you bake them. So we're gonna bake them at a pretty high heat. I'm just gonna turn that oven on to 400 degrees right now. So we've removed the skins from the chickpeas. As you can see, there's no little skins floating around. I'm just gonna toss them in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You could also use canola oil or safflower oil, vegetable oil. Any of those are fine. And so I'm just gonna pour it in over. Put that over here. Just gonna give it a little toss. And then we're going to pour these chickpeas onto a parchment paper lined baking sheet and spread them out so they have some room to crisp up. If they're in a big mound, they may stick together, they may not get that crispy, and you want them to have all get heated evenly. Okay, I have a couple left over here. All right, so as you can see, it's all spread around. And now we're gonna put them in the oven, and they're gonna bake for approximately 30 to 40 minutes, or until they're nice and golden and crisp. They're gonna crisp up even more when you take them out of the oven. And then after 30 to 40 minutes, we're going to put the spices on top of them. So now I'm gonna make this spice mix that goes on top of the crispy chickpeas. They're baking in the oven right now. And as I said, after 30 minutes, we're gonna take them out, give them a little toss, and then put them in a bowl. And we're gonna toss this spice mixture on top. So I have half a teaspoon of table salt. If you have kosher salt, that's fine. You might need a little bit more of the kosher salt. So that's half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of smoked sweet paprika. If you really like spicy hot food, you could use hot paprika, a hot spiced paprika. Yeah, so that's salt and the smoked paprika. And now we're gonna use a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. You could use Kashmiri chili powder or cayenne right there. Sort of matches my shirt. 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin seeds. 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. It goes in there too. And I'm just going to use a pinch of black pepper. Okay, I'm just going to mix that all up until it's nice and mixed. It smells so good. You could use a different mixture of spices if you want. You could use za'atar and harissa if you wanted. You could use a little bit of ginger and Chinese 5-spice and Sichuan peppercorns if you wanted instead of the cumin and paprika and stuff. It's really whatever you like, whatever you have in your cupboard and you think would go well together, would go nicely on these chickpeas. So we've taken the chickpeas out of the oven. As you can see, they're nice and brown and they're crispy, if you can hear that. I'm gonna add the spice mix and just toss it on the tray. You could take it out if you want and put it in a bowl, but this also works. Now these, once they're done and cooled, they're also great mixed with some unsalted nuts or some puffed lotus seeds, also known as macana. Yeah, just delicious. Oh, it smells so good. It's nice and smoky from the paprika. Smells, it's almost got like a barbecue flavor scent to it, like barbecue chips. Okay. Okay, we're gonna put them in the oven to roast. Roast for approximately 5 to 10 minutes or until nice and crispy. Let the chickpeas cool and store in a container that is without too tight of a lid. Just a delicious, high protein, high fiber, low salt snack. Enjoy. The next recipe we're making is an oat and walnut chila. Chila are a savory pancake, often eaten at breakfast, but can be eaten anytime. It's usually made with chickpea flour, also known as garbanzo bean flour or besan. These ones have, as I said, ground oats, ground walnuts, some water, some turmeric, some cumin seeds, a little pinch of salt, some asafoetida, which is a traditional South Asian spice, chopped fresh green chili and ginger. We're gonna grate some chopped cilantro leaves, chopped small onion, as you can see there, a little bit of whole wheat flour. Traditionally, a little bit of rice flour would be used, but we're using whole wheat flour because it's lower on the glycemic index. Some oats, which are a great source of fiber, soluble fiber, which is associated with lower cholesterol levels, and walnuts, which are a great source of polyunsaturated fats. We're also going to use some curry leaves. I'm going to chop these up. Now it's important when you're chopping leaves or any vegetables to curl your fingers under like this. And I'm just going to go like this, curling my fingers so they don't get hurt. Cool. Okay, so now we're going to make the oat flour. Take 1 cup of rolled oats. I'm just going to put it into my blender here. You could also use a food processor if you want. Put the lid on. Make sure it's on well. You don't want oats flying everywhere. And I'm just going to turn this on. This will be loud. Pardon me. Okay. Okay, that's nice and ground. It's okay if you have a few little pieces in there. Just adds a nice texture. It doesn't have to be perfectly ground. If you can see that, there's a few little chunks of oats. We're gonna put them into this bowl here. 1 cup of ground oats. Okay, and 1 cup of warm water. So I have 1.5 cups here, so I'm just gonna pour to that mark there. then it's gonna need to sit. We're gonna mix it together, and then it's gonna need to sit for about 15 minutes so that it gets nice and thick. And while it's sitting, okay, I'm just gonna mix it up till it's all blended together. While it's sitting, I'm gonna grate some ginger. And I have all the other ingredients chopped, and the leaves, the cilantro and the curry leaves washed and dried. So, but if I hadn't done that, this would be the time to do that while that's thickening. So that's gonna sit for 15 minutes. If you wanted to chop this ginger, you could also chop it really fine, but I just find this is a nicer texture. You don't get big chunks while you're eating the chile. And if you don't have a rasp, like I said earlier, you can use the fine holes on a cheese grater. That works just as well. So now we're gonna make our walnut flour, pardon me. I have half a cup of walnuts here. I'm gonna add them to the blender. Again, making sure the lid is on very well. And I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna put it to medium. And I don't want to grind it till it's like a walnut butter, you know. You don't want it to be a full paste. It's okay if there's a few little chunks, but it's pretty powdery there. You could also, again, do this with a food processor if that's what you have. All right, now, I think I'm gonna have to take off the bottom of this for the walnuts to come out. Oh, here we go. I'm just going to use my, sorry for the noise, knock that through. Now, walnuts will not only bring polyunsaturated fats into the recipe, it also brings protein. Nuts are a great source of plant protein, which helps your muscles, helps you feel full, gives you energy. So great. Okay, so I'm mixing that in. Looks, you know, a little chunky right now. I want to make it make sure it's a little smoother, but it'll still look a little gritty. But once it's cooked, it won't look like that at all. All right. Now we're gonna add the spices. So I have a half teaspoon here of turmeric, half a teaspoon of cumin seeds, and I'm going to use this one for the salt. Just a half teaspoon of salt. And I have 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour. That grated ginger from before. And then I'm going to add all of the ingredients. The small chopped onion. Also going to add a pinch of asafoetida. That's optional. Sometimes it can be hard to find, so if you can't find it, it's okay. We also have 1 small green chili chopped and 2 tablespoons of curry leaves chopped and half a cup of chopped fresh cilantro that's been washed and dried before being chopped. Okay, so it's all going in. As you can see, looks like a big salad. We're gonna add also the rest of the water. It's half a cup of warm water. Now this is all gonna get mixed together. Oh, it smells fantastic. Might look a little odd right now, but once it is fried up, it'll just be so delicious. Now, once this is all blended together, it's going to sit for 5 minutes just to let it thicken.
Heat a skillet over medium heat.
Grease lightly with a bit of canola oil or other vegetable oil. Spoon 1/3 cup of the chile batter into the pan as many times as you can fit, and smooth out the batter until it's just about 1.5 centimeters or about 1/2 inch thick. Cook until there are little bubbles forming on the top of the chile. Flip when the underside is nice and golden, about 3 minutes. Cook for another approximately 3 minutes or until both sides are golden, and serve with a low salt chutney. So now I'm going to show you how to make the barley for the winter vegetable and barley salad. This is pearled barley, but you can also use whole grain barley, it's hulled barley. They're quite similar in fiber. It's a fantastic grain that's super low on the glycemic index, so it won't spike your blood sugar like some other grains will. And it's not eaten very often, although it should be. It's got a really lovely flavor. Okay, so I'm going to measure 1/2 cup of barley here. I'm going to pour it into this bowl, and it's going to soak for approximately 45 minutes at room temperature, but it could also soak overnight. If you're using whole grain barley, so hulled barley, it's best to soak it overnight. So now I'm going to add my soaked barley into 1.5 cups of boiling water. It has a 1/4 teaspoon of salt added to it. This is going to cook for approximately 25 minutes. If you're cooking hulled barley, it'll take approximately 50 minutes, twice that. So the next recipe we're doing is a warm barley and winter vegetable salad. The winter vegetable we're using today is cauliflower, but you could use squash or broccoli if you wanted, or Brussels sprouts or cabbage, even carrots or parsnips. And we're going to roast them with some olive oil in the oven. So I'm going to cut this cauliflower into like 1.5 inch florets, about that big. I've cut most of it, and it's in this bowl here, as you can see. So I'm just going to toss them into this bowl. Cauliflower is a part of the cabbage family, and diets high in cauliflower are associated with heart health. So great vegetable. It's also, when it's roasted with a little bit of olive oil or canola oil, gets nice and nutty and super flavorful. They also soak up flavor really well. So if you want to throw some spices on, or put them in a stew or a curry or something, they soak up so much flavor. It's just delicious. Okay, so these are almost done. So this salad is fantastic salad for dinner, hot, or you can eat it the next day, cool or just warm. It'll last for, it's great for leftovers if you want to bring them to work. It holds up really well. It's a really yummy salad. Okay, so these are all cut up, as you can see. Just going to toss them in a little bit of olive oil and just a pinch of salt, and then we're going to roast them for approximately 30 minutes or until they get nice and brown. Okay, so that's 1 tablespoon olive oil. Do another 1/2 tablespoon. I'm going to put just a touch of salt on. Not much, because we are talking about heart health today, and a diet high in salt is associated with hypertension or high blood pressure. Okay, so that's tossed in the olive oil, and I'm just going to throw them into this roasting pan here, but you could put them on a baking sheet if you wanted. And I'm going to throw this in the oven. So the cauliflower is roasting right now. We're gonna toss it halfway through just to make sure that it browns evenly. If you want, you can use frozen cauliflower. It's a very economical way to add cauliflower to your diet. You could also use frozen cubed squash as well. They're often much less expensive. They'll last longer, especially if you're living alone. It's a really great option. So next I'm going to make the dressing for this salad. I'm going to add just about a teaspoon of grainy mustard. You could also use Dijon mustard. I'm just going to put it in a jar because a jar is a great way to make vinaigrette. And I'm going to zest this lemon. Now the zest of the lemon is not for the salad dressing. It's actually for the garnish later. It brings so much flavor. But you have to zest it before you juice it. And we're going to use the juice from the lemon for the salad dressing. Now, if you don't have a little rasp like this is called a rasp or a zester, as you can see. You could also use the small holes on a cheese grater. That works great too. All right. Oh, it smells so good. So fresh. Adds so much flavor. When you're using zest and herbs or spices in a salad or any other dish, you don't need as much salt. And we're going to skip the salt in our salad dressing because we added salt to the cauliflower to roast. All right, almost done here. You want to make sure that you only get the colored part of the peel. That's the zest. You don't want to go down to the white because once you get to the white pith, it gets a little bitter. Okay, almost done here. Don't want to make too much noise. All right, so that's the zest here. All right, so that lemon we've taken most of the zest off, if you can see. And of course, it's very important to wash your lemon before and dry it before you zest it, or even before you juice it, because you don't want to get any ickiness from an unwashed lemon into your food. Okay, so I'm going to slice it here on my cutting board, and I'm gonna juice it in my little juicer. If you don't have a juicer, I know not everybody does, you can use a fork. You can cut it in half and just sort of squish a fork into the fruit over a bowl. This is nice because this little juicer is very nice because all of the seeds get stuck on this part here. So it saves me from having to strain it, which is very handy. Okay. Now, if you wanted, you could also use vinegar, like a nice red wine vinegar or an apple cider vinegar in this recipe. But I really like lemon and the lemon zest because I just feel it gives so much flavor. But it's up to you. Use what you have. It's a nice thing about a vinaigrette is that you can customize it however you want and what you have in your cupboard or your fridge. If you had limes, you could use that, or you could use like a combination of fresh orange and lemon juice if you wanted. Okay, so I think that's all of the juice we're gonna get out of this. Give it one more squeeze. Let's see. I think that's done. I'm gonna measure that into my jar. This is what we're gonna make the vinaigrette in. Oh, there's a little seed here. Take that out. All right, and now I'm going to zest I'm going to grate the garlic. Put this aside so you can see what I'm doing here. So I have garlic here. Again, if you don't have one of these, you could use a knife and you could just chop it really fine. Or if you have a garlic press, you could use that instead. I just like these because they're easy to cook and it makes it really nice and fine. It's garlic too. Nice way to add flavor without adding salt. All right. Now we have, it's about a teaspoon of grated garlic. I'm gonna put that in there. Okay. And now I'm gonna give it a little shake. I'm gonna shake it once first. You can make a larger batch of this. You could double or triple this recipe and just keep it in your fridge once it's ready. We're gonna add the olive oil. Okay. Here's my, we're gonna add 3.5 tablespoons of olive oil. Oh, it smells so good. Okay. Now, that's 2, 3, and 3.5. Okay, we're gonna give it another shake. And then we'll have a delicious, fresh salad dressing. Okay, you can see, because of the mustard, it's nice and creamy. It's all mixed together well. All right. Now, we also have in this recipe some cannellini beans. These are unsalted cannellini beans, just from the can. If you want to make them at home, you can as well. But this is just so convenient, and it's inexpensive, and it's a great plant protein to keep you satisfied, and it's also great for heart health. Also going to add some barley in this recipe. We have 1.5 cups of cooked pearl barley that I made earlier. And we're also going to add some herbs. We have 3/4 cup of soft herbs. The herbs I chose today are cilantro and fresh mint. This just adds so much flavor and freshness, and yeah, you can customize it to however you want. And you're going to keep the leaves nice and whole because it just gives so much flavor. You could use parsley if you want. You could use tarragon. If you didn't have fresh herbs, you could use arugula or watercress. The options are up to you. So now we're going to assemble our winter barley salad with white beans. I'm going to add the barley into this bowl, along with the white beans that have been rinsed and drained and dried off. Those are unsalted white beans. I'm going to add about half of the dressing here. As you can see, give it a little toss. Smells delicious. Okay, now I'm going to add the warm cauliflower, roasted cauliflower. As you can see, it's nice. It's browned a little bit at the edges. We've tossed it halfway through, and it's a little crispy on the outside and nice and tender in the middle. You can tell if it's done if a fork goes through the pieces easily, and it's got a nice little bit of browning on the end. Okay, now I'm going to just put this over here, add the rest of my dressing and my herbs. As you can see, we left the pieces, the cilantro and mint leaves nice and big. So it just adds so much flavor. So good. If you want to chop them up, you can, but I like them nice and big. Okay, my dressing in there. I'm going to toss it all up. It smells so fresh. It's like, yes, it's a winter salad, but the herbs sort of remind you of summer. And it adds a nice bit of color too. I hope that these heart-healthy recipes inspire you to make something new for your next meal. I also hope that you enjoy these dishes as much as my family and I do. Happy heart-healthy eating! Thanks for watching.